Welcome to LMTI Maven Learning Series number 1. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about the Maven. So what is mean by Maven? So generally, we call the Maven as a build tool, or in some places they will be calling as a project management tool. So what is mean by build tool? So build in the sense in the real time world, we always create some project. So if it is of an automation project, you will be creating kind of an Java project, etc., and in which you will be integrating your coding. And what we will do, we used to compile the code and then we used to run the code. So generally, so building a project means you are going to compile the source code and run the test. And how the Maven is going to help us in compiling the source code and running the test. So generally, whatever the project you are going to work on, so we follow the process called as an build, compile and test. Like nowadays, whenever we are doing the automation, we depends upon like multiple things. So multiple things in the sense, in order to do the automation, we may need any of the programming language, or if you are going to test the web page automation, you need the help of the Selenium. And then along with it, we are going to integrate any of the framework. So based upon the user choice, you will be integrating any of the framework. So basically, right, our project depends upon lot of things. So if we need to create an automation project, we are depending upon the Java, as well as we are depending upon the Selenium, as well as we are depending upon the framework. So whenever we are depending upon the multiple things, we need to inject the knowledge of the respective Java as well as Selenium as well as the appropriate framework into the project. So traditionally, we will be creating some project where we will be manually injecting the knowledge. So the manual injection in the sense, let me just correct the spelling of the knowledge. Okay, so we are going to manually inject the knowledge. So manual injection in the sense, we will be adding the appropriate jar files. So jar files in the sense, the Java files we call it as in jar files. So in our project, we will be adding the Java jar files, and we will be adding the Selenium jar files, and whatever the framework you are going to use, you will be adding the respective framework jar files. So one and only if all the jars are added into the project, the particular project will gain the knowledge of the Java or Selenium or framework. So which means technically we are injecting the knowledge of the needed one. So generally we are going to depend upon other thing. So whenever we depend upon the other thing, so in the real time world, so every time, so everyone are keep on updating their version. So now if you see in olden days, we may use the Java version 8 or 11, 14, etc. So now we have came up with a version like Java 21. So likewise, the Selenium has a multiple version. So whenever the multiple version is introduced in the market, then what we need to do? So we need to remove the old jar file and we need to replace with the newer jar file, so that our project will be always up to date with the market. And how we are going to remove or how we are going to add in the sense, we are following the manual process. So technically, right, so whenever we need this Selenium files, so in a traditional way, we will be navigating to the official web page of the Selenium, and then we will be navigating to the download section, and where we will be downloading the appropriate file. So now you could see the current Selenium Java version which is available in the market is like 4.18.1, so which is released on the February 19, 2024. So there is a chance like they may update the Selenium version. So when they update the version, the next version will be like kind of an 4.19. But what we have did, so we may have manually downloaded the respective jar file, and we may have injected this jar into the project. So like whenever I click on the download, so it will be download in the kind of an zip file. So like if I just open the zip file, so you could able to see like multiple jar file which is available inside this particular zip called as in Selenium Java. So now let me just navigate to the download section, and then like I will show you the jar file. So if I open this zip file, you could see these are the multiple jar files which are available currently, and we will be injecting this jar file into our project. So in future, if they are updating the version, so obviously like the version of the jar will be updated. Then what we need to do, so we need to like manually remove the old jar, and we need to add the new jar, and it is kind of an tedious process, because like we will be injecting multiple knowledge. So like not only the Selenium knowledge, so we may inject the framework knowledge, either it can be from Cucumber or TestNG. Like we will be adding the multiple jar files. So we should be cautious in removing the old jar file, and we should replace with the newer jar file. And in case if we fail to replace the some of the jar file, then it may leads to an issue. And how we are going to avoid this process in the sense, so only with the help of the Maven. So with the help of the Maven, like we are going to build the project, so which is nothing but like instead of doing the manual injection, like we are going to automate this process, and the Maven will always download the latest jar file and add into our project, and post that like we can compile the project and we can run the coding. So as it is following this process, so we call Maven as a build management tool. So maybe like it is kind of an theoretical explanation. So like whatever the things I have told, so let me try to implement practically in the upcoming session. So like you will be getting the like overview. Okay, so how we are using the Maven and why we are using the Maven. So this is just a introduction about the Maven. So Maven is nothing but we call it as an build tool, or we call it as an project management tool. Okay, and we will be seeing the reason like why we call it as an build tool or the project management tool in the further session. So thank you for watching this video and keep learning.